but welcome officially to day one of this live stream. I'm super excited. So go ahead and chat to me and let me know how you're doing, how you're feeling, how your day's going so far, what you're most excited about for these next 3 days. And yeah, this is the first live stream event I've ever done. You guys know I do Zoom calls a lot and I do Facebook Lives a lot, but never done it this fashion. So I'm very excited. So yeah, let me know how you're doing. We'll wait. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Let everybody join in. Hi, happy Wednesday. Excited to be off of work on Friday. Love it. There we go. Hello, Joanne. I'm just muting everybody as you come in. There we go. Hello, my love. How are you? Go ahead and comment to me and let me know how you guys are doing, how you're feeling. I'm super excited for this. Love it. And I have like client calls all day. So I'm like, this is just the best day ever. So let me know. We'll give it probably till like 5 after. Hi, I've been great. Been feeling super happy lately. Love that. Doing well. Excited to be here. Love it. Okay. So the next 3 days, it'll be all at the same time. I was going to do it. My schedule is funky. I'm on night shift until the end of July. So I was like, okay, 8 p.m. works well. And then my family plans all these different things. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do it at 8 p.m. because then I have to cancel dinner. I'm like, I'll just move this up. So it's super exciting. I'm also excited because every month for the rest of the year until December, we're going to do a live stream event like this every month on different topics. So this month is obviously all about self-love. Next month is going to be all about money mindset, which I'm very excited to talk about because it's something I've grown a lot of ways in. And then continuing forward, building an aligned business, holistic wellness, a whole bunch of good things that I know everybody's super into. So let's see. To be off work. Let me know too, this has been a big focus for me lately in terms of like shifting my perspective. Let me know like 3 to 5 things in the comments that you're feeling super grateful for today as well, just to kind of get our energy in the right place. I've been catching myself lately being like, I have to do this and I have all this stuff going on and I'm so overwhelmed. And it's like, shift the perspective. Like, what is it that, like, look at all the beautiful things going right in our lives, right? Because oftentimes when we're just kind of looking at all the things that are going wrong or what could be better, we're really missing the beauty of what's going on in the present moment. So let me know some things that are going well in your life right now, some things that you're excited about, or just overall, like I said, what you're feeling especially grateful for today. And I'll give you my 3. I'm super grateful to have 4 days off in a row from the hospital. I worked like crazy last week. I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So it was craziness. And I finally have a stretch of days off. So I'm excited. I'm very grateful to be here with all of you guys. I'm very grateful I have 3 one-on-one calls after this. It's just a lot of good stuff falling together. I'm also really grateful. I don't know if you guys are familiar with James Wedmore. Or if you know who that is, but I just joined his course called Business by Design from Catherine Zankina of Manifestation Babe because I love her so much. And she was like, she partners with him for it. And I ended up purchasing it and I'm already getting so much clarity and I've only gone through the first module. So, and I'm just grateful that like the weather's nice and it's summertime. Doing well. Okay, let's see. Grateful for finally having a day off. Got my hair did today. Looks beautiful. I love your shirt, by the way, too. I love the little boxes. I know. For those of you that are on here, every time I have a new client that purchases something for their first purchase, I send them a little gift box. So you might, if you end up purchasing something in the future, might have the same shirt that Joanna has on. Let's see. Super excited to be here. Super grateful to be here. I'm usually working during the group stuff. That wasn't planned, I swear. Okay. Just kidding. Beautiful. Okay. Wanda said, I'm grateful for being able to live by the ocean, which I've been manifesting. That's fucking incredible. I'm also manifesting that. So I'll feed off of that energy. All of the communities I'm a part of for myself and how much I'm blooming and becoming my true self for my family and for being part of this community. You guys are amazing. Love it. Doesn't that feel better than like, oh, what do I have to do after I get off this call? Like, what are all the things that I have on my to-do list? I love that. Okay. Alrighty. I'll let you guys finish up what you're doing, but let's go ahead and tune in with some breath work just to go ahead and get started. So go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Go ahead and rub your palms together, bringing them into your center, to the center of your chest. Take a big deep breath in and release. 2 more, big breath in. Hold at the top. Exhale, let it go. Last one, biggest breath you've taken all day. Hold. Let any discomfort, anxiety, fear, doubt bubble up to the surface. And exhale, release. Keeping your eyes closed, looking up to your third eye point, the space in between your eyebrows. Just take a moment to feel into everything you just said you were grateful for. It's one thing to just make this ongoing list and look at it and say, wow, so many things are going well, but I really want you to tap into your heart center, and I really want you to feel into all of the blessings in your life and everything and anything that you can be grateful for in this moment. Not only because that's really going to help you feel so much better, right? Because where our focus goes, our energy goes. And what we focus on is just going to get stronger. So if we got to take responsibility, and we have to really take 100% responsibility for focusing on all of the blessings in our lives so that we can attract more of them. So dear universe, angels, guides, higher self, angels, guides of everyone on this beautiful call, everyone watching the recording, everyone in this collective, please help me to be a clear channel for anything and everything that needs to come through today on the topic of self-care rituals. Please help me to be a clear channel for the next 3 days of this self-care live stream. And please just help bring forth anything from myself and everyone on this call and everyone watching the recording that needs to come through, and allow us to shift and move into a place of self-love, unconditional self-love from this day forward. Go ahead and take one more big breath in. Hold. And exhale, release. So keeping your eyes closed, I want you to float your palms, float your hands down on your lap, palms facing up, still looking at your third eye center. And I want you to just ask, dear universe, guides, higher self, dear universe, angels, guides, higher self, what is it that's meant to come through for me today? Is there anything that's meant to come through on this call for you? Is there anything that you're needing advice or guidance on? Is there anything that you've been struggling with that you just want to shift on this call? Keep breathing and just listen to what comes through for you. Because what comes through for a reason. And the things that come through when we're in this space is what's meant to be shifted right here, right now. And if something's coming through for you, it's going to be helpful for the collective, for myself included. Just continue to breathe deeply. And if nothing comes through, continue to ask the question, dear universe, angels, guides, higher self, what's meant to come through for me today? Where do I need more healing? What topic or concerns or advice or guidance am I needing right here, right now? Where am I ready to shift? Take one more big deep breath in. Hold at the top. And exhale, release. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Beautiful. I love tuning in like that because I don't know what everybody's day has been like, and I like to just kind of get centered and come together. So I hope that felt as good as it felt to me. Go ahead and comment to me if anything came through in terms of what's meant to be discussed, where you're needing advice or guidance. And again, throughout this whole call, if something comes up for you, if you have any questions, or if you're like, I would love to talk about this, we totally can. So go ahead and, again, if anything comes through, if nothing came through, totally fine. But again, if something comes up later on, feel free to just put it in the comments. And this practice too of I think a lot of times for me in my spiritual practice, I was so focused on like having to do a specific guided meditation or having to do like a specific Kundalini meditation or having to do some sort of like structured meditation practice. But this practice of just like taking 3 big deep breaths in, holding it at the top, looking up to your third eye point and asking like, every day I do this and I ask, what would you have me do today? Or what advice or guidance are you needing me, or am I needing to hear today, right now? And I free write journal after it. And it's like the things that I take action on from this space is what has got me to where I am right now in business, in my life, in nursing, financially, everything, right? So this is a really beautiful practice if you're like, I feel like I'm so out of tune with myself and I have no idea how to come back to that. Or if you're having a day where you're super fucking anxious or you're really upset or you're just not in a high vibrational space, tune in. Like you have so much support, right? From something, whatever you believe in higher than yourself, like have faith in that because you're always being guided. Okay. So today's topic, I kind of touched on this in our meditation, is of self-care rituals. I wanted to start off with this. So self-care rituals to implement into your life. These are things that have been beneficial to me that I have learned in my 6 to 7 years now of being in the personal growth space, of being in the spirituality space, and being of the self-care space. So things that have become non-negotiables for me in my own daily life is what I'm going to share with you today. So I always talk about the power of a morning practice or the power of having a morning ritual. This does not need to be some extraordinary 3-hour-long practice of like, you know, journaling out all your hopes and dreams and doing a 2-hour meditation. And like, it doesn't need to be crazy like that. But there is something to be said about taking time for yourself first thing in the morning to reset your energy before you jump into the day. Like if you think about everything from social media to the news, to being at work, to being in school, to being with your family and picking up on everybody's shit, like, especially if you're in a community like this, I know how big of empathic people we are and how much we take on other people's stuff. And we're like, why do I feel so shitty? Like nothing's really going wrong in my life, but I've just been around it. So taking this time for me, at least first thing in the morning, to just like reset, recenter, and like leave my phone away. You're speaking my language right now. This is why I love it. So I will tell you this. I was watching, a YouTuber that I've been watching for a very long time yesterday. And she was like, she said like, I created my channel because I wanted, like, she's like, I felt super alone. She created her channel when she was like in her 20s. This is a very like kind of side topic, but she's like, I created it because I didn't have people in my life that were like me. And I was like, that's literally why I'm in the, not even, I don't know. When I first joined, I don't even remember what like the first Facebook group was that I joined, or like the first YouTuber that I watched, or like the first podcast that I listened to. None of that really matters, like which one it was. But it's like when I first stepped into that space of like, wow, like I don't have to live the life I've always been living, and I don't have to think like everyone around me, because clearly that's not working out. And especially with like, I got really into like, obviously spirituality, manifestation, things that are now the way that I live my life. When I first started was so exciting to me, because I'm like, I don't have to stay in my hometown forever. Like I don't have to go the traditional route with work or the traditional route with school, or like I can learn how to get out of toxic relationships. Like it was really empowering for me. But when she was saying that yesterday of like, she's like, I created this community because I wanted support from people and I wanted to just connect with like-minded people. That's why I started all of this, right? And I started off as a Beachbody coach because I thought that would be the best way. Turns out it wasn't. And now I'm here, but it was a beautiful stepping stone into giving me that confidence. But that also goes to say that if you're feeling called to something that maybe is in the multi-level marketing space, maybe it's in something that you're like, I don't know if that's an end goal, but that feels really good and like really comfortable right now, go for it. Like, so I don't know who needs to hear that, but somebody probably does. Okay. However, like I was saying, morning practice, the power of waking up first thing in the morning, getting up. And this was the thing for me. I always was like, okay, but if I have to wake up, if I'm going to get up and I'm going to meditate and journal, I have to wake up an hour earlier than I do. And I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted all the time. Like I can't wake up early because I'm tired and I don't have the energy for that. Right. And it's like, I'm getting chills because this is so real. And it's like, we don't get energy by sleeping in and like just rushing out the door and like going on day by day by day, like neglecting our self-care. And I think self-care is a huge buzzword of like self-care this and hashtag self-care and like putting on a face mask. And like, by all means, I'm going to do that later, but like, that's not my daily practice. Right. So self-care is going to look different for everybody, but I'm assuming that if you are a part of this community, we're all very, like we said, like-minded. Um, carving, if you're brand new to like a self-care, like morning practice, and you have not taken time for yourself in the morning for whatever, like forever, start with 30 minutes. Commit to doing one thing first thing in the morning that's going to make you feel really good. So if for you, you really like to read personal development and that makes you feel elevated, do that, right? Read 10 pages, read for a half hour. If it's you're feeling really anxious and you have a lot of thoughts going on and you're feeling in this really negative space right now, get into a journaling practice. Like set your timer for 15 minutes, or I like to write for 3 pages, and I just get out everything that's in my mind onto paper. Even when I'm like, I have nothing to write about, there's so much shit in our subconscious minds that we don't even realize. So writing it down, purging it from your subconscious, especially because, like I said, we pick up people's energy, and we need to realize what is ours and what is other people's. But also, like, I think journaling goes both ways, because for me, from like a point of, if you're in a really shitty mindset right now, if you're in a really shitty situation where something's not making you feel good, by all means, write about it, purge about it, get it out. If there's past traumas that need to come through, get it out. If you've never talked about it to anybody, right? This is I started my journaling practice, probably 7 years ago now. I was in high school at the time, and I was always the person who was like, I would word vomit on everybody, because I was like, I just want somebody to listen to me. I want somebody to hear me. I'm in so much pain. Like, I was struggling with anxiety and depression, and I'm like, I just like need someone to listen and validate my feelings. But nobody was. Like, everyone was like, oh my God, said, like, you're complaining about this now. And I'm like, I'm so like, whatever. So I was a mess pretty much. And that's what got me into personal growth, because I'm like, I hit a rock bottom, and I was like, I can't go on feeling this way for the rest of my life. So I took a moment, and I don't even remember where I learned the principle of like, that our relationships are our biggest teachers. I know it's talked about a lot, but like, I was looking at common themes in my relationships with men, particularly boys at the time, but I was looking at those and saying, like, what's the common denominator? Like, why does the same thing keep happening? Like, I would be with somebody, I would like be so obsessed with them, I would be like falling in love, because I didn't have a sense of self. So I was just giving myself away, which I think is a huge thing that a lot of people struggle with, that I oftentimes forget just because of the relationship that I'm now in. But I'm like, think back to where I was. I just like needed validation. Like, I needed you to tell me how I should do my hair. I need you to tell me what I should wear. Like, I needed you to tell me what to do. Like, I was not who I am today by all means, which is a blessing, but I've grown a lot. And I think the most important thing for me was like looking at those relationships and realizing, like, I was trying to find happiness in all of those people. For you, that might be like, you constantly chase the corporate ladder, and you always want to go to the next thing, and you always want to become the next thing, and you always want the next degree. Or it could be with friendships, like you're afraid to be alone, and you feel like if you don't have a good group of friends, which I will tell you from my experience, from my heart, if you feel that way right now, like you're like, I don't really have anybody in my day-to-day life that I like really resonate with, that's why we are here. That is why this community is the way that it is. And why I try to do as many things like live on Zoom as possible, because I feel like that connection is so important. And my boyfriend is always like, the sooner you realize that just because you don't have a ton of people in your circle doesn't mean you're a shitty person. I was like, I know. And that's been like this whole thing, right? Is this like paradigm of like, what's wrong with me? But it's like, I don't want to spend my mental energy with people who I don't resonate with. Like, that's just not, I have bigger and better things to do than that. So, but again, no matter where, if it's a romantic relationship, or if it's with trying to find a partner, if you don't want to be alone, or you're like, I can't get into a relationship, like, what's wrong with me? Shift the mindset, like, and ask yourself, why is it that I so desperately want that thing? Like, why are you so desperately chasing the relationship? What are you expecting from that? Are you expecting them to listen to you? Are you expecting them to validate your ideas and your creativity? Are you looking for them to, make you feel beautiful, or to remind you that you're worthy, or to make you feel sexy? Because if that's the kid's situation, like, buy yourself some lingerie, get yourself a bottle of wine, and get yourself some flowers, and just like tap into that energy yourself, because then you attract people who are like, damn, you're so sexy. And you're like, I know. And then it's like this beautiful thing. Like, there's no more guilt. There's no more. And I can even go further with this about relationships in terms of like feeling jealous, or my partner and I, and this is why I say it, because we if you're single, if you're in a relationship, if it's complicated, if you're married, like every relationship teaches us lessons about ourselves, even if it's going well, right? Like, I remember a couple years ago, I was like working through my relationship blocks, and I was getting in more like deeper into like my past traumas and everything. And with relationships and healing those things that, you know, I'd been chasing for so long. And there was still something coming up for me about like not feeling worthy of being completely and 100% loved by my current boyfriend. I've been with him for 5 years, right? So we have went through a lot already together. And he was like, something, it was like this whole thing that got blown out of proportion because my subconscious belief system was, I'm not worthy of having this relationship, or he doesn't think that I'm good enough to stay with long term. Like that was a really big limiting belief for me. And it manifested, right? So he like started flirting with girls at college, and I was like, no, this is not happening. And then I'm like, and I got very, it was weird because in the past, I think I would have been a lot more reactive, but I really was like, what is this teaching me about myself? And I think that's the most empowering thing that you can do when you're in a situation that's making you upset, or that's making you like that you're hurt by, is asking yourself like, okay, yes, this situation sucks. Yes, this person hurt you, but like, what is it showing you about the beliefs or the things that inside of you that still need healing? And obviously we are still together. It all, like, everything unfolded the way that it was supposed to. It was not as dramatic as I was making it out to be, but our subconscious belief system is huge. Let me read this. So true. I'm 34 now. I've been doing this kind of stuff and into it since I was around 23. YouTube was my way to feel not so weird. LOL. I still only have one real true girlfriend, and then my boyfriend. So I've been connected with women like you. So thankful you're on this platform sharing. I love you guys so much. OMG, seriously, I'm in my 30s and just now learning / embodying this. It feels so awkward sometimes. Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I just think the whole principle of what is it that you so desperately want from somebody else, and how can you give that to yourself? End of the day, point blank, because then you feel complete and anyone else is just a bonus. Because for me, like, I remember, again, and I'll get back to morning practices, but I remember feeling so incomplete without a partner, or like didn't feel like I was worthy. And again, I think this is also part of like being a young woman and like figuring out like everything. But I also see this like in people with work. Like if you're somebody who's really like a big workaholic, like why are you chasing that so much? Like what are you expecting that to give you that you should be giving back to yourself, right? So yes, self-care buzzword of like face masks and taking a bath and getting your nails done. That's beautiful, but it's like deeper than that. Like, and it's like looking at, you know, the ways that we're trying to fill voids within ourselves. Like what are we hoping to gain out of those things? Okay. So back to what I was saying, with like the whole thing in terms of having a morning practice and waking up. Like I said, if you're brand new to having a morning practice, commit to 30 minutes, commit to one thing first thing in the morning. It could be reading, it could be going on a walk and listening to a podcast, it could be doing yoga, it could be doing meditation. Switch it up every day. Like wake up first thing in the morning, and you could even go back to that breath work practice that we did first thing in this call, and ask your guides, ask the universe, ask your higher self, like, you know, what would you have me do this morning? Like what would feel best for me this morning? It doesn't need to be so structured. As much as I love watching morning routine videos on YouTube, I'm guilty as charged of like getting inspired by them. And I think that's so amazing, but it's like, it doesn't have to be this picture perfect thing all the time. And you don't have to do everything on all the days. Like this morning, I literally had my coffee, journaled about what I was grateful for, and then like got ready, and now here I am and I feel good. So setting time out for yourself first thing in the morning, like I said, because there's so much going on in our external stimuli. There's so much that we're picking up on a daily basis without even realizing it. It's very important to take that time just for yourself, to tune into yourself and to ask, like, how am I feeling? What do I need today? Instead of just going in that very reactive mode. Plus, again, from a point of manifestation, if you're going about life just reacting to everything, that's not intentional, right? That's you're giving your power away. So my whole thing is like, for me, it's very important for me before I get on these calls, before I go to work, like, because both of my jobs are very, very focused on serving other people, and I'm giving a lot of myself every day. It is the more that I give, the more I need to give back to me. So for me, that looks like sometimes turning off social media. Sometimes that looks like saying no to social like plans because I just need a night for myself. But like end of the day, the way that we like our energy is everything, right? So if we're coming about life with being so reactive and like something bad happens at work, then we think it's our fault. And then it like goes down this downward spiral. Same thing with a relationship. When you are able to take that time to get centered and it's most important thing is just tapping into your soul, tapping into your intuition and realizing that like life isn't happening to you and looking at the way that things are unfolding and what is that teaching you about yourself and where you're currently needing healing. So I think it's very important. So that's my first tip right off the bat is having some sort of morning practice. If you are somebody right now who struggles with overthinking, you struggle with negative self-talk, you struggle with fears and doubts and insecurities, if you're in a place of transition we're always changing, right? Like I feel like life is always a state of transition. I could not recommend journaling enough. And I have to talk about this because this is one of the things in the very beginning of my journey. And it's something that has become a stronger part of my practice now, like taking the time. And people are always like, yeah, but like, how do I journal? I'm like, you just write about what's on your mind. Like it doesn't need to be like prompts or like, yes, journal prompts serve their purpose. Like if you're in a course and they give you journal prompts, I think that's very powerful. But like from a place of like a daily practice, like I always ask myself, how am I feeling? And I'll write about it. And then it's like, if there's anything that wants to come through, I let it come through, right? I don't think about it. And again, like for me, this also goes for if you're somebody who feels like you're always needing someone to listen to you, or if you're getting frustrated because people aren't like appreciating your creative ideas, or people aren't like, validating the way that you're feeling. It's like, are you validating those for yourself? And like, that's what got me into journaling, because for me, I was like, I want everyone to listen to me and I want everybody to care about how I feel and what I'm thinking and all of these great big ideas that were super exciting in my head, that I had for my life, like, and still do obviously, but I looked at that and I'm like, okay, like how can I take care of myself in that way? Like, how can I fill in that gap for myself so that I'm not relying on other people? Because at the end of the day, when we rely on other people to fill that void, we're just relying on other people for our happiness. And that's going to get you nowhere fast, because everyone's dealing with their own shit. And everyone's going through this journey themselves, whether they realize it or not. So for me, it was like, okay, in what way can I do that? And journaling was like huge. Like I was like, if I can just write down about past things that, especially for me, it was like past traumas with like a sexual thing that happened when I was very young. It was not, everyone's entitled to their own story. It's a very precious thing in my life, but I'm just like, I'll give you a little long story short. I was a freshman in high school dating a senior, and it was like this very emotionally abusive relationship that I didn't talk about for a long time, because I was like, people just think he's a nice guy and people just think that like he's like whatever, and no one really believed what I was saying about who he was with me, if that makes sense. And it was like I definitely felt pressured to lose my virginity to him, and I did. And it was like this whole thing. And my mom was like, after she found out, she was like, you cannot, like, I'm not letting you be with him, because she saw like the toxic patterns. And I was like, oh my God, my life is ending. She's making me break up with my boyfriend, because I was so like brainwashed to think that he was a great guy. And I talk about this because I know a lot of us have stories that we don't talk about because we think that people don't, I don't know, or we have a past. Like for me, like people were like just didn't validate that that was a real thing in my life. And for me, I was like, okay, like I remember being in high school, he had went to the service after he graduated, and it was like this whole thing of when he was home, my mom's like, I want to know where he's at, and I want to make sure he's not coming to like see you. There was almost a restraining order put on him because he was kept coming to the place that I worked, and my mom like literally was like, leave her alone, like stop. Like it was crazy. And I think I was just so young and naive that I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But like, because he's like, I just want to see you, and I just want to whatever. And I'm like, I told you we're not together. Like, what is it? Like, he was crazy, right? And I could talk about that here because I think we've all been whatever. And I remember like literally I worked in an ice cream shop. That was my first job. And I remember leaving and seeing there was always a police car sitting outside. Like there was a B-Dubs next to it, and there was always a police car sitting there. Just like my mom's friend works for the city and was like, I'll make sure she gets to her car safe. And like I said, as somebody who, especially in like your teenage years, you don't know, like you're like, oh, this guy has tattoos, he drives a car, like he's so like whatever, and you get all into it, and then you're like, you don't realize where it's going because you're young, whatever. But, and this is, I think, a lot of like, for a lot of us with like limiting beliefs or past traumas, like a lot of it comes from childhood or teenage years. If you think back to things that are holding you back right now, it might be something from your past that hasn't been healed because you're not looking at it. And I just remember, like, I literally, I think, was talking to like my principal at the school, because he was like a really great like guy to go to, and I felt like I needed somebody that was an adult to like talk to about it. And he was like, oh, you're talking about, his name was Derek. He's like, oh, he's a great guy. I'm like, oh my God, no one's listening to me. And that was just like this whole moment of like, what the fuck, right? So I closed that down. And after that point, that's where like my whole relationship, my whole thing with relationships started. It was like trying to find someone else to validate my emotions and to listen to my story, like in another guy. And of course he didn't want to hear about my past boyfriend. So it was just this constant thing of like one after the next of just like, it wasn't working out. And I'm like, what is the problem here? And it really came down to like, I wanted people to validate my story, but I wasn't giving myself that space to do it for myself. So then I started journaling, and I started writing about it, and I started like about my whole experience and how it made me feel. And I was like, holy shit, like this has been in me for so long. So again, it doesn't have to be something even as like, I don't want to say dramatic because it's not dramatic, but something as deep as that, right? But it could also be like, if you're going through a tough time at work right now, or if something frustrated you today, or if a relationship isn't going the way that you've been wanting it to, like, instead of I have to remind myself that like my emotions and my feelings are not other people's responsibilities. And I think that's important, because if you know people who are like always needing that like attention and always needing you, and you always have to be at their beck and call, like it's draining. And for me, I was like, I don't want to show up in this world being somebody who is always like just needing from other people, right? And that was like a huge thing that I was like, that I came to the realization of. And like for me now, if I have a hard time that I'm going through, if I'm feeling super emotionally charged about something, or if even if my partner and I aren't getting along and something's going wrong, I'll be like, you take the night for yourself, I'm going to take the night for myself. And I literally will like draw myself a bath, do a yoga practice, and write about the situation. And then I feel better. And you notice how that is a very, so much more sustainable way to deal with conflict than just like reacting and saying the first thing that comes to your mind and being angry. Because then like, who knows if we'd be together if I was still like that, you know what I mean? Just because I'm just, whatever, it's fine. So long story short, like journaling has been huge for my anxiety. It's been huge for my mental health. And it's been a great way for me to just validate the feelings that I'm feeling unfiltered, and feeling like I don't have to like hide parts of my story, because it's like, it's my story and I can talk and I can write about it. So journaling is huge. Morning practices are huge for me. Meditation is also a huge thing for me. This was something too that in the beginning of my journey, and I know some people in the community feel this way as well, but in the beginning of my journey, I was because I had so many things, like I had lost my grandma when I was 12. So that was like a really traumatic thing, because we were really close to her and she passed away. And it was like that, I think grief at any stage is very hard. So that was something that I like kind of pushed down for a long time. And then like, obviously that relationship, and then relationships after that. And I played like competitive volleyball growing up, like for 6 years. And I remember always having some sorts of like sports injury, or I was always getting sick, or I was always like not able, like I had mono the summer between my junior and senior year of high school. And I was literally like in bed for 2 weeks. And I was like, why do I keep, like, no one else around me is getting sick. Like, why am I so like sensitive to this? And I think when I finally was able to surrender to the fact that I am indeed a sensitive person, and I was able to be like, I need rest, and like that is okay. That's where I've started feeling better. Because especially, and like we'll talk about this in upcoming months, but like in terms of fitness, like I was in a place at one point where I was so focused on like counting calories and going to the gym and making sure like everything was very structured in my life, because I was like, I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And now it's like, what do I want to do today? Like, let's just do that and let's move on. Like, it doesn't need to be super complicated. But we have to look at these behaviors in ourselves and ask ourselves, is this coming from a place of like needing to love myself deeper? Because all of our things that we treat the way that we treat ourselves, whether you're super obsessed about going to the gym, or whether you're always wanting to find a new partner, or whether you're, you know, so focused on work that you don't give yourself time off, like ask yourself why. And again, this is something that you can journal on, like, why am I so focused on finding a partner? Why am I so focused on getting the next degree? Like, is it because it's truly in alignment and it's exciting for you and it's the right, like, divinely guided next step? Or is it like you think that this next step is going to make you feel more fulfilled, right? But I remember, again, I don't remember where I even learned about meditation, but I was like, okay, like, let's try this. I was, again, with everything going on, I think when we suppress our emotions so much, it's like it can manifest or show up as anxiety for a lot of people, especially if you're in a period of like maybe a couple years where things have happened that have been hard for you, that you've just like pushed down because you're like, okay, like I'm okay, but you're not truly healed from it. I think it can be hard. I don't know. I think that's, at least for me, where a lot of my anxiety stemmed from. And I remember, I remember the first time, I think I did my first meditation practice before I went to my first yoga studio. But the moment that I stepped into a yoga studio, I was like, oh my God, I'm home. Like, I just love it here. It is so calm. Everyone's in a great mood. It was just very enlightening space. And that was like the first time that I actually felt like the shift of energy in like the collective. If you guys have never been to a yoga studio, I'm sure you have, but go, like, highly recommend it. But when I started meditating, I remember sitting down and being like, I feel like I had this whole illusion that if I sat down and I meditated, I would have all of these thoughts in my head about things that I didn't want to remember, situations that had been traumatic for me that I was like, like I'd rather just, it feels more comfortable to just avoid it and to keep pushing. So I was like always the person who was like always the perfectionist, always did everything at school. Like I was in every club, I got straight A's. I, you know, studied really hard for like my ACT, and I was like third in my class, like very academically, like wanted to be the best, which is great. But it's like, why was I doing that? And it wasn't because it was for reasons to distract myself from what was really going on emotionally. And I never had, and that's another reason why, like, especially for, this doesn't really apply for, I don't think, anybody on here, but like the younger people in my community that follow me, I'm like, it's so important to like be talking about this stuff in your teenage years too, because like I never had anybody telling me like, Sid, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Instead of it just being like, oh, like, you don't feel good, you'll be fine, just suck it up and go to school. Like, that's such a big thing. And it's like, why don't we just let people rest? Like, why are we in this society of like go go go? But I got really like, it felt more comfortable for me to avoid sitting down and doing my meditation practice, and I just wanted to like do my homework and talk to this person and like go do this with my friends. And like I was totally avoiding a lot of areas in my life. So if you feel like right now you're in a space where you're like, I have a lot going on in my head that I feel like I haven't processed, and you notice yourself like constantly avoiding it because you're either on social media or you're watching TV or you're out with your friends, and it's like, you'll know it if you're doing it, right? But it's like, it's not as scary as you think. And I think for me, like with meditating, when I first sat down, I was so relieved that like I didn't get more anxious sitting there in my thoughts. Because I think that's this whole thing. And even my mom is like, I can't meditate because I can't get my brain to shut off. And I'm like, Mom, that's not the point. Like, the point isn't to shut your brain off. The point is to sit and be present with your thoughts and to realize that like they're not as controlling as you make them out to be, right? And to be that gentle observer and to really like, I don't know, for me, it's been a lot of stepping away from my masculine energy and stepping more into my feminine energy of being like, taking a breath, being gentle with myself, and like really treating myself like I would treat my partner, right? Like being very kind and loving with myself instead of being harder on myself than I am with other people. So for me, meditation in the very beginning was really focused on just like getting comfortable with the thoughts in my head and getting comfortable being alone, really, because I was so focused on other people and so focused on my other relationships. And like I said, very like perfectionist mindset, and I have to do this, and overworked and tired, and I was emotionally tired. Like I didn't realize that all of these ways that I kept getting sick and I kept getting injured and I kept having to take time away from school. Again, I was a teen at the time, but I was emotionally exhausted. And I know that the universe was like, she needs a break. Like, we're going to give her a break, because I wasn't giving myself a break. And then that goes into like my whole thing with my car accident. I got in a car accident 4 years ago now. I got sideswiped by a semi going to pick my little brother up from school. That was my first, I also don't talk about this a lot either, but I think it's important. I woke up I was in college. It was my first month of my first semester, was in going to get my little brother from school. Woke up from a nap, left to go pick him up, and literally like woke up in my car with like so many people around me. The impact was huge. I thought I was paralyzed on my left side. Like I was like, what? I don't know what I just hit, but like it was like unlike anything I've ever been through in my life, obviously. And I'm gonna get emotional. But it was that moment for me was, I mean, luckily I'm okay and I'm still here, and it's a very big blessing, obviously. But like my collarbone was broken from the seatbelt, like because it snapped it. My car literally spun like 7 times across 5 lanes of traffic. It was insane. And I remember that time of my life, I was going to school full time. I was working at Starbucks part-time, but I was working, like I would work until like 11 p.m. and then I wake up at like 6 to go to work or to go to school. So I was sleeping for maybe like 6 hours. I was not resting nearly enough. And I just was getting to the point that it was like, I was exhausted. And I literally had this huge, like people talk about spiritual awakenings. Like I remember they took me from, like obviously the site to the hospital and everything. I had no internal bleeding. I had some bruising like around my belly. And then obviously broke my collarbone. This was my 4th concussion now. I had gotten, that's another thing. Concussions were huge for me. Like when I was a volleyball player, I don't know. I think I grew too fast and then I was super clumsy. So like my first one was like in the 8th grade, but then the second one was like it's a whole, it doesn't matter. I can ramble forever, but yeah. And I got that car accident. I literally remember laying in the hospital bed and being like so relieved that I didn't have to go to work tomorrow, and so relieved that I didn't have to go to school tomorrow. And I was like, why am I doing all this shit if I don't like it? Like, and that was this moment for me of like, cause I had been such a people pleaser my whole life. And I had been so, focused on what was right and what was the right thing I should do and like whatever. And it was like this moment of like, I get a break. I don't have to be this like super overachiever person anymore. And like, that was like literally what spiraled into what I do now. Because like from that moment on, I'm like, I'm not doing anything if it's not divinely guided, or if I don't feel intuitively that it's meant for me, because this is what's going to happen. Like, I just remember being like, is this real? Like all of these things. And I think you might not realize this if you've never, and I'd never wish this on anybody, obviously, but if you've never been in a situation like this, or if you even like losing a family member or losing a loved one can really bring things into perspective of like how short life really is. But really, like, the things that we stress about on a daily basis don't matter as much as we think they do. And it's like, why can't we just return back to like that energy and that mindset of like, if this was my last day, am I happy doing what I'm doing? And like now I can say 100% yes. But like then I was like, no, I don't know what the fuck. I felt so out of my body. I was drinking all the time. I was not taking care of myself. It was like complete. If you saw a picture of me then versus me now, you'd be like, who the hell? Like, it literally is a completely different person, right? I just felt like I had the life sucked out of me. And then all of a sudden, and that literally was from then on, I was like, if I don't start taking care of myself, like this is going to happen. Like something else is going to happen. That's where all this came from. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of what else. I said meditation, I said journaling. Yoga is huge. I feel like I don't have to preface about that. I think it's just it's very similar to meditation, and the fact of getting into your body, especially if you're somebody who has been, who either like has been in the habit of working out really intensely in the past. Like, I think for me, it was like a really nice way to move my body in a way that wasn't exhausting to me. Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube is great. Go to a yoga studio if you can. And then obviously also reading personal growth books has been the number one catalyst for my entire journey as a whole. I remember, I think there's this whole thing about self-help books, and I think you guys obviously won't resonate with this because you agree, we're in the similar space, but I think some people are like, no, I don't need that. Like, it's just a self-help book, whatever. Like, self-help books literally saved my life. Like, and I will tell you, I will also go back to this whole story with my car accident because I have something to share about that as well. And again, I said we were talking about self-care, but I think this is also, it's very much part of the story. If you don't think that your subconscious mind, like your subconscious thoughts if you think that your subconscious thoughts don't manifest your reality, I literally months before my accident said I was in such a deep, dark place that I was like, I wonder if I got in an accident, who would come to the hospital? Or like, I literally, and I remember it was like, I was talking to one of the guys that I talked to before, and I was like, I honestly just wish it would happen so that I could just be in the hospital. Like, I had very deep, dark thoughts at the time. And then it did. And I was like, holy fuck, like, this is real stuff. And then I started learning about manifestation, and it's like, I don't know. I just think if we're in the mindset, and it obviously was the compound effect, right? It was like one of those things where it was just constantly like, do I really want to be here? Like in general, felt like I lost my purpose, felt like I wasn't, I just wasn't happy. And I think like the most important thing that I have to say to that is like, if you're not happy, you don't need a sign from anybody that like that it's okay to change. And if you need that permission from somebody that like, it's okay to leave the job that you want. It's okay to leave the job that doesn't or to leave the relationship that's making you unhappy. It's okay to leave the town that you're in. It's okay to switch gears. Like, I'll give you that permission right now. Like, no one needs to give you that permission. And again, that's why I think like, if we're constantly going about life in this reactive mode and not taking the time for ourselves, right? It's like, we don't even know what our soul is telling us to do because we're not taking the time to get quiet, which is why self-care is so important. And I was kind of hesitant too, to even make self-care rituals one of these days, because I'm like, that's very like surface level, but you can see that there's a lot of deeper meaning in it than just, the practice itself. But I was just going to say this too before we end, but, in terms of personal growth books or books in general, wherever it is that you feel like in your life right now you're struggling with. So if you feel like you're struggling with anxiety, you're struggling with thoughts of like, if you're building a business and you're struggling with like things in terms of your business, like specifically, right? I think it is the reason why I love books, so like personal growth books so much, is because we can identify within ourselves like where we're needing healing right now and where we're needing guidance. And then just like do a Google search, books about anxiety, books about building a business, books about spirituality, books like literally, and you'll get a list of like at least 20 books, and go buy all of them and go read all of them. Cause like, for me, that was like the most empowering thing, is like no longer waiting for someone else to like give me this magic like pill or this magic like cure or solution. It's like actively seeking that out for myself. Right. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if that landed, where you're at. We can stay on for another like 10 minutes if you guys have anything that you're needing advice or guidance on. So go ahead and let me know in the comments. Let's just check in. And then, like I said, tomorrow, it's going to be at the same time. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about overcoming fear and self-doubt. And if you can't make it live, I will send the recording out via email after it's over. All of it landed for sure. I think what we discussed today is the foundation for self-care, knowing and loving ourselves first. Yeah. And showing up for yourself instead of putting your power into somebody else's hands, right? Or like basing your happiness and your fulfillment based off of like your situation in life. I think that's a very like, fixed way of thinking. I love that. Yeah. And I will tell you firsthand, like I feel better than I ever have in my entire life. And like the fact that I'm even able to like, I like the fact that I left my old nursing job because I just knew this wasn't the right thing. And then like my job as an L&D, labor and delivery nurse, just like popped up and was like, that whole story is a whole other thing for a whole other day. But like, it literally just like happened exactly as I was supposed to. And I was like, wow, like it gets to be easy. Like it really does. Would you recommend doing yoga in the morning or the night? All of this is perfect and what I needed to hear. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. I think I personally like doing it both, but I'm also like, I just love the time for myself. I think it's a really good, if I had to pick, I think it's a really good way to end my day. Like if you're going to wake up and do something first thing in the morning other than yoga, I think doing yoga at nighttime just to kind of like get back into your body and get into like a relaxed state, especially if you're somebody who struggles falling asleep at night. I definitely think nighttime should be like the priority, but again, play around with it and see what feels good to you. I love that. Okay. I'll give it a couple more minutes just to see if anything else comes through. This is so fun. I'm looking forward to the next couple months of this. Let's see. I also will just give this little preface. I know that Joanne is already booked up for a one-on-one call, but I'm so excited. I know. I have decided over the last couple weeks or so to do some drop-in one-to-one coaching sessions. So if you enjoy the lives or you enjoy this, and you want to sit down one-to-one with me on a Zoom call, and we can just literally work through any and all blocks that you're having right now. The way that it works is you submit an application and you pretty much just tell me where you're currently at, what you're struggling with, what your goals are. I'll look it over and see if it feels like a good fit, which I'm sure that it will because we're all very like-minded. And then from there, you'll book the call, we'll schedule it. But I also, just to kind of give this, and I don't know if I've told you this yet, Joanne, but the day before, like the day of the calls, I will sit down and meditate and like channel through and ask like, what is meant to come up for this person today? And I will channel for you and then bring that with me to the call. So yes, it's my feedback, but it's also from, the divine as well. What else was I going to say? Yeah. So I have technically 6 spots left for them at $88. I'm still waiting on somebody to book. But that spot is technically reserved. So we can say 5. So I have 5 spots left for, to sit down and do a one-on-one call with me for $88 for the session. That'll be the cheapest it'll be. I'm only going to do 10 of them at $88 and then the price will be going up. So if you're interested, go ahead and fill out the application. If you need the application, message me and I can send it to you. Wanda said it's crazy because when we were doing deep breathing, my inner goddess showing me and telling me to sign up for your one-on-one. Love it. I also will tell you at the end of this live stream event on Friday, I'm going to be announcing something super exciting, a course that I have that's launching and reopening again that also has a one-on-one coaching option. So that one you would get 4 one-on-one sessions with me plus the course. I will give you more information on Friday about it. But if you're like, yes, I absolutely want to do a drop-in at this price, I will send you the application. Casey, how are you doing, my love? I just want to check in and make sure you were all good before I hop off. Yeah, I'm very excited. Beautiful. How about we end with some breath work and then I'll let you guys go. Okay. So go ahead, same thing, sit up nice and tall, rub your palms together. Bring them into the center of your chest. Take a big deep breath in. Hold. And release. Big breath in. Hold. And exhale. Last one, big, big, big breath in. Hold. Looking up to your third eye point. And exhale, release. Dear universe, angels, guides, higher self, angels, guides of everyone, all of the beautiful women on this call, everyone that's going to be watching the recording, everyone in the collective. Thank you for bringing us all together today in this beautiful space. Thank you for giving me the divine guidance to start doing these live stream events because I think it's so beautiful and so powerful for all of us, myself included. And just thank you for helping me to be of high service for each and every single beautiful person on this call. And please just help them to really take away what resonated most with them from this and to always take what serves them and leave what doesn't, so that they can start to implement these self-care rituals that feel best to them in their own lives, so that they can start feeling more connected to their soul, more connected to their intuition, and so they can truly fulfill their life's purpose. Please allow anything else that needs to come through for them. and just remind them that they're never alone. They always have this divine guidance accessible to them. They can always tap in and ask, what is the right next step? What advice or guidance do you have for me right now? What messages are coming through for me? And knowing that they are always co-creating with the universe, and they're never doing it alone. And they never have to always, in the how, I think this is important to remind you, is that the how is not your responsibility. The how is not your responsibility. So in terms of manifesting, if you're calling something specific into your life right now, and if you're focusing on, you know, maybe it's a business or a new job or getting into school or a relationship or your health, whatever that looks like for you, a vacation, a new home, more money, your only job is to get very clear and specific on what it is that you desire and why you desire it, and feeling into what it would feel like to be living as that version of you that already has the thing. And from there, you let the universe do her thing. You don't stress about how it's going to work, and you trust and you know that you are always being divinely guided, and that the next right step is always going to be clearly obvious to you. And it's like submitting, I always say this, it's like submitting an Amazon package. It's like submitting an Amazon order. You place your order, you tell the universe what you want. You don't go back and keep ordering it and keep ordering it and keep ordering it and keep ordering it. Like, you trust that once you've sent it out, it's coming back to you. Because when we come from that place of continuously needing to repeat the same thing over and over and over again, we're just sending a message to the universe that we don't believe that it's possible, that we're doubting it, that we're in a lack mindset around not being able to have that thing. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to ask yourself why. Why is it that you believe you can't have that thing? And start to heal those limiting beliefs. But again, that does not change the fact that the how is not your responsibility. And just trust and know that when you are in energetic alignment with everything that you desire in this beautiful life, the universe will bring it to you instantaneously. Everything starts with energy. Everything starts with alignment. And again, that's why taking this time to take care of yourself is so important, so that you can move through life coming from the most soulful, heart-centered place. And really, you can manifest anything and everything you desire. One more big deep breath in. Hold. And release. Keeping your eyes closed, still looking up to your third eye point. Drop your hands down to your lap, palms facing up. And I want you to just take a quiet moment and ask the universe, your angels, your guides, your higher self, what would they have you do today? What messages or guidance is coming through for you right now? What is the next step that you're being called to take? And trust that what you're hearing is exactly what you need to hear. The first thing that's coming to your mind is exactly what's needing to come through. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So good. Casey said, I'm sorry, I'm at work, got distracted. So good, though. I'm really consistent with my morning practice as well. Thank you so much for this. You guys are so welcome. If you're available, like I said, I will send the email. You'll get another email tomorrow with the link. There's also in the Facebook group a link for it as well. So 2 p.m. tomorrow, talking all about overcoming fear and self-doubt. And again, if you can't make it, there will be the replay. Message me if you want the application for the one-on-one calls. And I'll see you tomorrow. So beautiful job. Thank you guys so much for showing up for yourselves. And I'll talk to you soon.